I want to share another video with you, how I know that God's real. I was cooking supper one night and I heard a voice say that your grandpa's not going to make it out of there alive. And I thought, what? And so he said it again. He said, your grandpa's not going to make it out of there alive. And I thought, wow, well, I didn't know anything was wrong with my grandpa. So anyway, I just kept cooking and thinking, well, when I get this food cooked, then I'll call around with the family and see what's going on. Well, in about 20 minutes, I hadn't finished cooking yet. My brother came to my house. He said, Lisa, Poppy's in the hospital. I said, oh, really? I didn't know that. He said, I didn't either. And I said, well, what's wrong? And he said, I don't know how bad it is. They didn't tell me what was wrong. And I said, oh, um, he said, do you think we ought to go see him? And I said, I just heard a voice, Mark, say that Poppy wasn't going to come out alive. And he said, oh, do you think we ought to go see him then? And I said, if you want to see him alive, we need to go see him. And he said, okay. So the next day we went up there. It was quite a drive, so we got there pretty late. It's we lived in northern Arkansas, and they lived in Memphis, Tennessee. And when we got there, my grandpa knew who we were. He was conscious a little bit, but he couldn't speak to us. So we didn't get to talk to him, but we got to see him. And as I held his hand and I tell him, I love you, Poppy, and he'd squeeze my hand. So he knew that I was there and he understood what I was saying. And I just felt like when he squeezed my hand back, he was saying, I love you too. But anyway, the next day we went back to check on him, see how he was going to do before we end up going back home. And when we got there, we walked into the room he was in, and I hit a brick wall. I went like that, and I thought there was nothing there. There was nothing. I couldn't see a thing. There was nothing in front of me, but I just hit it, and it jerked me back, and I could feel something there, and I didn't know what it was. So I was looking around at my brothers and sisters, and they were acting normal. They were just walking like nothing ever happened. And I said, "Did you hit a brick wall?" And they looked at me and said, "No." So I went over there to the bed to see what was going on with my grandpa because I wondered if that brick wall had something to do with him exiting the room or something. I didn't know what was going on. So I went over there to look at him and he was not there. I could, he was breathing with a machine. You could hear the click, 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 click like that. And he was breathing, but he was in a deep, deep coma. He didn't know a thing. And the nurse showed us, she pinched him really hard and said, see, he's not responding to nothing. He can't feel touch or nothing. He's in a deep coma. She left us alone. So we visited there a little while with him, maybe an hour or so. And then all of a sudden I noticed him skipping breaths. So I went and got the nurse and she came back to check on him and she said, yeah, his heart's skipping beats now. And I said, oh. She said, it won't be long. She didn't leave. She stayed there because she knew it wouldn't be long. I guess in about 5 minutes, then he took one big sigh, a deep breath, and that was it. He never breathed again. She checked him and said, he's gone. And so anyway, I was so thankful that God had told us that we got to go see him for the last time. And we got to hold his hand and he got to squeeze our hand and everything for the last time. If it wasn't for that voice of the Lord giving us a warning, we wouldn't have knew that. We wouldn't have went and checked on him. So I thank God he's watching over his children that love him and that keep in touch with him. But anyway, thanks so much for listening to my videos and see you on my next video. Jesus loves you and Jesus is real.